Welcome back to another episode of HBG Insights. Today we have Jane Nichols and Kate Toohill. How are you guys today?
Good, thanks, Dwayne.
Good, thanks.
I'm very excited for you to sit down with me. Today we're going to be chatting all things customer service. I think it's a really good idea for us to do this because we're going to be giving people a massive insight into what's been going on in the customer service industry across medical devices, pharmaceuticals, but also talking about candidates and employers and what they're looking for coming into 2023 and comparing that also to what's been going on over the past few years. So first of all, I'll get you both just to introduce yourself. So just give us your name, your role, and actually the areas across healthcare that you recruit in.
So my name's Jane Nichols. I'm the Divisional Manager for Business Support. I personally recruit for customer service and HR, and that's across med device, biotech, and pharmaceutical companies, or anything that falls underneath that umbrella.
Perfect.
So I'm Kate Toohill and I'm a recruitment consultant, and I deal mainly with just customer service, and the areas I recruit for is optics, FMCG, animal health, and then medical device and pharmaceuticals.
Perfect. So just to start off, let's go straight in. What exactly does a customer rep within healthcare do? Because people hear customer rep and then you automatically go to an Apple customer rep, or you think of like Telstra customer reps and they're just on the phone to you. But customer service within healthcare is so different. So can one of you just give us a quick insight into what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's much more of a corporate environment. It's not just answering the phones. You're a lot more involved. You're understanding that you are part of a patient's journey at the end of the day. If you're keying in an order and it needs to be correct, that can be a patient on the table, life-threatening situation at the time. So it's very high attention to detail, taking in every piece of information that you need to note in order to place that order, and then working with everybody else within the business in order to get that product out.
Awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right in saying that. People think that it's customer service is just answering the phone and, I don't even know what, answering the phone and pushing paper. But it's not, there's so much more to it. It's really analytical, high attention to detail. And you have
to be quite logistical as well with it as well, because sometimes you could be communicating with a number of different teams or a number of different organizations just to actually get, like Kate said, like a product to a patient in time.
Yeah, definitely. It's changed definitely in the last 6 years that we've seen customer service go from where it's like the keying in the orders, answering the phone. There's a lot more automations now out there with various systems. So you actually get customer service at a more customer service stroke supply chain. So a lot more analytical, dealing with inventory numbers and what's available, dealing with the logistics element of it as well. And having that like bird's eye view of what's happening to get products out.
Amazing. It sounds a little bit intense.
It
A little bit intense. So you guys have actually touched on my next question. Like I said, it can be intense. What are some of the characteristics that actually make a good customer service representative?
Yeah, someone that would be great at customer service, high attention to detail, enjoys doing that data entry side of things, enjoys working in Excel spreadsheets, someone that is great on the phone as well, happy to pitch in where needed, clear and concise communication.
What about you?
I would also say technically minded as well. A lot of the products that they're dealing with are very technical, and they need to be able to explain that to their customers and also understand it as well.
And then I guess from a standpoint of, let's say, skills and kind of softwares that they need to be, aware of using. You mentioned Excel, but is there anything else that particularly customer service reps need? And is there a difference between, I guess, the industries in which you recruit for? Because obviously you're saying you're in optics and animal health, and then you're in pharma. Is there a difference between what some customer reps need for you, Kate, compared to what they need for you, Jane?
For systems, it tends to be pretty generic across the industry. So SAP, Oracle, JD Edwards, they're really common systems used. And then we've got EDI, so electronic data interchange, which is more that automation of ordering. And then you've also got Salesforce to record, or like various CRM systems as well. So we look for candidates with them skill sets, but then the difference between the various industries, I think that comes down to maybe their background of the candidate. And some companies, they'll look for somebody with that technical experience, like Kate mentioned, so either that understanding of the product or how it's used, and then it can be another, well, yeah, like optical, for example. Kate's our guru in that space, and you would look for something different than I would look for, say, for pharma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with optics, they tend to come from that retail background where that foundational training has occurred. Tends to be where those sorts of candidates come from. And I mean, with animal health, we also see a rise with people like veterinary nurses coming through, using the skill set that they've been trained in to not necessarily be in the environment that they may now find isn't what they're looking for, but they can then apply those skills into a more corporate environment.
Yeah, so it's definitely a case of a lot of the times it's quite transferable skills that people will be using. Especially someone, a veterinary nurse, traveling across, they have all that experience within a vet, so they know exactly what a lot of these animals need, and then they're coming in at another realm of assisting within the healthcare space, but from a different angle, I guess.
But even with the products as well, like they may get a phone call from like a veterinary nurse or a vet and saying, oh, I need to order this product. Now, because they've worked in there, they know if they ordered that product, they also need that other product as well. Or there's actually 4 different sizes of that one product, and then it's probing to ask that question to say, oh, well, which size do you need? So
interesting.
That's only like knowledge gained from being in that.
We talk about different areas and the fact that certain experiences will determine whether they're good for a certain role within a certain environment. Do you find a lot of the companies that you guys are recruiting for, do you find they're really like specific about it, or are they willing to take people in and train them up to, I guess, suit the role that they're recruiting for?
Yeah.
I think it depends on the company, but also the role and what is happening within that team at the time. If there's a specific need within the company, then they might, and the team, they might be a little bit more specific in what they're looking for. If the team is okay and they can actually bring in some new talent, then they're open to those out-of-the-box candidates and training people up.
Yeah, so it pretty much just varies from employer to employer. So in terms of, I guess, career progression for someone that works in a as a customer service rep, what does that look like? What are people's options if they, I guess, Kate's example, a vet nurse moving into customer service as a rep? What are their options then moving forward? What can they do past that?
For career progression within customer service, we've seen it go in a variety of routes. So you can go customer service into inside sales, and then inside sales into a sales representative. We've also seen it go through supply chain, so someone that's really analytical, enjoys working with the data, can then move into more supply chain roles as well. We've seen people go into marketing as well from customer service, and I've even seen like going into pharmacovigilance as well. So it can really vary depending on the company that you're with, but typically it normally is sales or supply chain.
Okay. Well, I actually didn't realize that you have seen people move from customer rep into marketing, or even pharmacovigilance, because a lot of the times, like you said, it's usually into inside sales, or even a lot of times it goes into logistics and supply chain. But it's good for people to hear that they do have those options based on what their career plan is and their progression.
They're dealing with the products every day, so they already know that backstory to the products. So it's a lot easier for them to transition over, and for a company to keep a really good employee rather than letting them go.
Yeah, definitely. And the pharmacovigilance, that was like a science graduate, started off in a junior customer service role, had the right attitude, great communication skills, just like hit the ground running, worked the way up within the customer service team, and then applied internally for pharmacovigilance, and she was successful. So that's the reason why she moved into that space. But she did have a science degree.
That's unreal.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah. And that wasn't even something that she kind of planned. Was it kind of just
Yeah.
serendipitous? It just happened?
100%, because that's the thing. Science grads come out, and typically speaking, you'll say, okay, what job or career do you want?
What do you do?
What do you want to be 5 years' time? And some have no idea,
Yeah.
apart from I want to be in sales or I want to go into clinical trials, because that's all they think that there is, because that's all they know type thing. So then you get them into like a more junior level, like admin, reception, customer service. And that's my advice to a lot of like science grads. Don't worry about the job title at first. Just get your foot into a door with a really good company, learn what the functions are, and you'll find something that you will gravitate to, that you'll enjoy doing. And sometimes they're really surprised that they enjoy doing customer service. Like, we do call it like the engine room of a company. You know, if it stops working, everything stops. So they feel that they've got that responsibility to uphold as well. So yeah.
Do you have any, I guess, stories that you know of anyone that you've, I guess, placed where they've done something that's been so amazing as a customer rep that really had an impact on a patient's lives? They may have like got some feedback, or maybe they got a phone call being like, because you did this, this is what happened. We found out where the end product happened. Do you have any stories like that?
I've got there was flooding in Australia like a few years ago now it was, and this customer service rep, science graduate, went into a pharmaceutical company just as entry-level role. He actually got put on the flooding, like they had like a flooding team just looking after all the customer service orders, and these products were used like literally on a daily basis. People relied on them, and he worked with the Navy to get products airlifted into, well, first of all, shipped out to various places, and then airlifted into like remote locations. And he was like, I just caught up with him for a coffee after, and he was just like, oh my God, Jane, I'm doing this. Like, I'm literally getting products from our warehouse in Sydney, working with the Navy and working with them to get airlifted into this incredible, like random place within Australia that's been unfortunately like flooded out. But at the end of that was a patient, and probably a patient's family that were worried, stricken that, oh my goodness, like, how are we going to get this drug to, you know, the dad or the whoever it was. So that's something that sticks with me, that someone can be in these roles and have such an impact and gain that experience.
That's incredible. And I guess that was also going to cover my next question, is why is a role of a customer service rep so integral to the healthcare system? And it's stuff like that. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. When people think customer rep outside of healthcare, they think Telstra or they think Apple customer service, but really the roles that these people are doing is so important. And if you're not analytical enough, or you're not like that much savvy with logistics, like, things can fall apart, and then that again can have a knock-on effect with patients at the end of the way. So that's an amazing story. And in terms of the integral role that customer service representatives play within healthcare, what are they actually looking for within 2023 moving forward in terms of, I guess, flexibility, work-life balance? What are you seeing candidates look for this year?
Definitely flexibility. They're looking for at least 2 to 3 days, either working from home or in the office. They have really enjoyed the balance that they've gained during COVID. We're also seeing higher salaries. That tends to be something that they're really looking for, with the price of living going up. That tends to be sort of forefront in their minds as well. Another one is company culture. Culture is really big. If they are going to make the move, they want to make sure it's the right move. They don't want to have to move roles again because it's not the right culture. And we're also seeing a rise in additional benefits being requested, things like health insurance, or payments towards that, or like lunches out, or maybe an extra day that's birthday leave, or whether there's a company-wide shutdown at Christmas time, that's free leave. We're just seeing things like that being requested.
And when you say flexibility, because obviously flexibility of work is going to vary from company to company and person to person, from what you've seen, what are actual like specific quote unquote flexibility that candidates are looking for? Are they looking for flexibility as in, if I want to work 5 days a week at home, I can do that. I want to work 3 days in the office, 2 days at home, or in the flip, 3 days at home and 2 days in the office. Like, what are you seeing, and what are some companies actually offering in that end?
Yeah.
And are they willing to kind of, I guess, be a bit flexible on their end with terms of what this candidate is looking for?
Yeah, like, it is true. Flexibility is a very ambiguous word. It means
it can
so
mean
much.
anything. I want to work in Fiji for half a year, but no, you can't.
Yeah, it means different to every single person. It really does. But majority of the time when people say flexibility, it is being able to have the opportunity to work from home a few days and then be in the office. I think that's pretty much like a given now.
Yeah.
Expectation-wise from candidates, and also expectation-wise from like employers as well. But then we are also seeing, like, within customer service, you know, the phones are normally there 9 till 5. You know, you need somebody available to answer the phones during them time. So we've seen managers get creative in terms of given flexibility in various ways. So recently I met with a client, and she says, I give one person each week on a Friday a no phone day. So they can just do admin all day. They don't need to worry about answering the phones.
Okay.
So that person can work from home that day. And doesn't need to worry about getting the phone calls. So that's really attractive to some people to do that. And then we see other companies, I've seen a couple do this, where on a Friday as well, they'll just rotate it around the team, where one person will come in early and finish early. So they'll come in, say, at 8 o'clock and then finish at 4, or even earlier than that.
Yeah.
And that gives that person on a Friday, oh, this is my early finish.
Yeah, that's
this
amazing.
week. And it's only an hour or so, but
It helps.
It makes such a big
It makes
difference
a
when
massive difference,
on a Friday you want to be out the door and start your weekend with the family or friends. So yeah, companies are getting a bit creative of how they can try and offer flexibility without it costing the company money.
Yeah.
Because it is like customer service, it tends to be more an entry level role, or some, you know, a role which it needs to be manned constantly. Someone needs to be available. So yeah.
Yeah, because I guess it's come to the point now where pretty much every one of our clients are offering some level of flexibility.
Yeah.
So that's no longer going to be like a USP for these companies. It is a level of like, okay, what else can we offer without us like losing business or losing productivity or losing efficiency? Because again, at the end of the day, it's a patient at the end. So you can't do too much if it's going to have a negative effect on the patient. And in terms of other things that candidates are looking for, you mentioned, I guess, pay. Obviously, living costs are going up. Housing is going up, rent's going up, and people are looking for higher wages. What's kind of the comparison between, I guess, 2022 into 2023 compared to 3 years ago? What kind of jump have we seen percentage-wise, or just, I guess, 60,000 and now the standard 70? What's that looking like?
Yeah, that's literally probably it.
Is
like,
it?
You've answered your own question, Dwayne. Yeah,
and
like,
does it vary? So I guess for you in optics, animal health, is the salary varying between the both of you? You've been finding
entry level can be as low as sort of 60. That tends to be sort of across the board in terms of most entry level. And then
entry level, when you say that, does that mean someone who's never done customer service, or
been not in that customer service environment? So they may have been in another sort of environment, whether that be retail or something, but they haven't been in a corporate environment.
Yeah, but that, I'd say that's like at this given time, if you speak to candidates with like good transferable skills, they normally are now looking around that 65k. To get into a role.
So for example, if using a veterinary nurse for Kate's example, if I was recruiting for a customer service rep within animal health, and I had a veterinary nurse who has 5 or 6 years experience in that realm, and you've managed to convince transferable skills, the employers are happy enough with that, would that person be counted as entry level, or because of their experience of 6 years within as a veterinary nurse, would they be able to maybe have a case to maybe ask for a higher salary or a better salary package?
Again, it goes back to the company. It just depends, because the other thing is they may actually be willing to take a pay cut when they're looking at it as the form of now they only need to work Monday to Friday. They're no longer on call to come in on weekends. Their days might be shorter. It's the same with, we're seeing a rise in nurses go into customer service as well. They're not on call all the time. They're not having to work weekends. So they do understand now they're getting a bit more work-life balance as well. So that sort of, it depends on the company and the role, and again, where they're sort of sitting in that sort of sense as well.
But yeah, it's from like say 3 years ago to now, it's definitely, it used to be more that 65, it used to be like 60k entry level for sure, 57, 55 around that mark. And then now for entry level, I'd definitely say it was more around that 60 to 65 that people are looking for. Somebody with say 3 to 5 years experience, they're around 70,000 plus super. And then somebody with like say 10 years experience, they can be between that 75 to 85 plus super. The highest salary that I placed last year in 2022 was 90,000 plus super for a customer service rep. And that was working in a pharmaceutical business, and they've restructured their team so it's more it's not order processing all day. They'll bring in really experienced people, so then if there's a new product launch that's going out, they'll be involved in how we're going to achieve this and get that out. They'll get people involved in them conversations, and they don't necessarily have like a customer service manager. They've got really well experienced people in the team to make the decisions themselves between the team to go, okay guys, like how are we going to do this? And so they've really restructured and made it quite lean, but then paying higher to get the experience behind it.
90,000. Okay, that's pretty good.
And there was
and how many years experience did they have? Sorry,
that person that went into that role and candidates I were interviewing, they had like say 15 years experience. The candidate that actually got the role had been a manager in the past as well.
Got you. And
then was like, I don't want to do people management anymore. Quite happy to go and do my job, go home. So they like loved the fact that she went into that role with that real knowledge of that supply chain element and customer service, and could see the bigger picture. It's not just about processing an order. It's about, okay, we've got various moving parts. How are we going to achieve this? So that's been the highest one that I've seen last year.
Do you think the salary expectations of customer service reps are going to keep climbing, or do you think we're kind of at a sort of plateaued for now?
I think they're plateaued now. They went wild, didn't they, last year? It was.
It
was.
They were a bit crazy.
It was on a daily basis. It was literally trying to manage candidates'
expectations.
It was like they had no experience, and they'll go, I want 70,000, and you're literally like, you've got no experience. I appreciate, and their attitude was, well, there's other jobs out there. At one stage last year, there was like, you type in customer service into Seek, there was like 25,000 jobs in Sydney under customer service. It was like
within healthcare, or is that
it was like within healthcare and FMCG. It was like,
that's insane,
wild.
So
then it was so competitive, there was hardly any candidates. So companies, to get the talent, were, they were like, we need people, we'll pay it. But then that candidates' expectations just really went through the roof. And then it was quite competitive when it got down to the final counter offering and that stage. It was just...
That seemed to have been the same across multiple areas in healthcare. Obviously, we've done a podcast with the guys in clinical research, and then we've done the supply chain, and they've all said it's definitely a candidates market at the moment, because a lot of jobs, not enough people to fill 100%. Those roles, so they're just taking advantage, I guess. Don't blame them.
As Kate mentioned before, when we do chat with candidates, they'll say like, it's not all about the money. You know, it's you do find real genuine people in customer service that love helping patients and being part of a team. And like, I'm working with a candidate at the moment who was on like say 65k in a customer service role, med device, got offered 85k. Of course they moved for that salary increase, like and now they're like, I just jumped too quick. I went for the money, and actually it's not the culture that I want.
With there.
Please find me like a new job. Like I moved too quick, and the next time I'm looking for a job, salary is not number one. It's all about the culture.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, it's good to hear. You're a great candidate to work with. So like I think we'll certainly see a bit of a shift this year, and it'll start to steady out the market a bit more. And because I feel it for managers when they come to us and they're like, what are they offering out in the market now? And you're telling them, they're like, I've not got the budget for that. Like, I'm not going to get the budget for it. And they're like thinking, well, how are we going to attract people and be competitive? And what else can we like offer to candidates? So yeah, we do try our best to just keep everyone's expectations like in line through the process as best we can.
So in the same vein, when it comes to employers needing candidates, what are they actually looking for in terms of years of experience? Are they accepting entry level? And when I say entry level, I mean kind of university students just leaving, part-time, full-time. What's kind of the thing that employers are looking for?
I guess they're looking for mainly loyalty first up. They want to know that their potential new employer is going to be loyal to not just the company, but the role itself, and also to their customers. Especially in our technical support roles, they're dealing with patients, actual people every single day. And they want to know that loyalty's there. It's not, oh, let me find out for you, I'll call you back, and you don't call them back for 3 hours. That could be a diabetic pump that has stopped working. That's critical. That's where it's, what are your levels now? Do I need to call you an ambulance, sort of thing? So that's where they're really wanting to see, the loyalty, not just to them, but also to their end customers as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Loyalty, the reliability as well of candidates. When it does come down to the core skill set, like the ideal on the list would be, an ERP experience, so SAP maybe, or Oracle, that order processing experience with a tangible good rather than a service, and somebody with high attention to detail. We do testing with our candidates as well, like we can offer that as part of the recruitment process, testing. So
okay, what does that look like? So
we'd send candidates online testing, and it basically does the high attention. The testing to candidates that we send out to them is it basically assesses the attention to detail, the accuracy, the speed of typing as well. It also does it in a call centre, so like where they'll have to type in what is being on the speaker of the computer. So there's different tests that we can do and send that to our candidates, and it kind of gives us a bit of a rough guideline of how they'll perform in the role.
I didn't realise we did that.
We do.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay, I'm learning something new today. And in terms of, I guess, because every company is going to be different in terms of their expectations of what they need from their candidate, are there certain kinds of companies that probably need a little bit more technical skills when it comes to the role than others? And I guess what industries do you see looking for more so the technical compared to others?
Yeah, so like med device more so we tend to see, and again, based on the company, they may look, say for example, I'm making this up, but like a lab company, they'll look for somebody maybe with like lab background that understands and provide that technical advice over the phone. Even with like hearing companies as well, if they've got somebody who uses a hearing device or knows somebody with a hearing device and can offer support over the phone of how to use it, or have you tried doing this, like, or giving that troubleshooting advice to someone, that is so key and will set them apart to the other candidates. So it is like, if you've got experience in a background or med device space, then applying to a customer service job in that sector, you'd probably be more successful. For yours, Kate, it's a bit more, isn't it, for optical, I'd say?
It's technical, but it's hands-on training that you've required in that sort of environment as well, and then being able to transfer that into the environment where you're not necessarily doing it by hand anymore. You're more talking people through it, but you understand exactly what the customer is trying to talk about and what they're trying to do with their customer as well.
Yeah, because I think as well, like, I think that's a hesitation with managers sometimes. They're like, this person needs to really be able to pick up our product portfolio.
Yeah.
And if that is an optical, like, there's so many different, there could be one product with multiple variations of that one product. And that can be applied really that to any industry really, but if someone had that technical understanding, it just helps them then when they're processing through the order, they actually even know what it looks like and what it does. So that helps them.
Okay, that's good to know. And then whenever we talk about candidates in the process, can you give us some tips and tricks for people when it comes to the interviewing process?
Yeah.
What should candidates be doing before, during, and after, I guess? And I'll go for even in person and also over Zoom, because I guess there's still a lot of people interviewing over Zoom. I know we do a lot of our interviews over Zoom.
Yeah.
What piece of advice can you do?
So before an interview, we always provide preparation to our candidates, like a link to the website, the people they're meeting with, the company or the job profile. You will be asked in the interview what you know about us as a business and what you know about the job that you're looking for. And it's really common, I think, in interviews for them to panic a little bit and go, oh, well, I know a little bit, but I'd love to hear from you. And it's like, no, you need to know.
Do people say that?
Yeah. And it's like, you need to know what job you are going for.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like,
I feel like that's just standard though, is it not?
It's how you get by in life. If you don't even know what job you're applying for, it's like, know the job and know the company as well. If you're sitting there just being, oh, it's a great company, you need to have real like solid experience, and you don't even need to go into the year they were founded and things like that, but just even to have an understanding of, oh, I understand you're a pharmaceutical company that specialises within, you know, like diabetes or whatever it may be. My mind went blank then, so maybe don't say that. But you know, just an overview what the company is and who their customers are, and maybe who the competitors are. You know, that's what you should be looking for and preparing for going into an interview. Writing down some examples, like think back to your experience, you know, a time where you've had to deal with a challenging customer, or where you've had a conflict with a team member and how you resolved it. The stories we hear in interviews are sometimes crazy. I feel that people really want to have like a full-on story to share. It's not, we don't. No. We just want to hear an example where you've really been able to, and when it comes down to a conflict in the team, like that gives us lots of really like quite wonderful answers. And all that we're looking for is like, has it been where someone constantly makes mistakes and you were able to say to them, hey, do you know you've done that mistake again? And they're like, I didn't even know I was doing it. And it was more of a training issue, and then you provided a bit of extra training to that, you know, that colleague, and that's it. Like, but then that could have been creating a bit of like animosity within the team, and you've just then been able to identify it, take it away. And the manager just thinks, okay, cool. So you're not afraid to be able to have nice conversations with someone to help them out.
True.
That's dealing with a conflict in the workplace. To me, anyway, that'd be fine. So yeah, preparing examples to share with employees or employers.
I guess as well, having a answer to like a standout situation in which you've helped on, going back to the candidate that had worked with the Navy, or maybe it's that you personally dropped a product round to somebody's house, making sure you've got like a real standout example of where you have gone above and beyond for a customer.
Because you will get asked.
And what about, I guess, how people dress?
Yes,
especially more so on Zoom, because I've heard a few horror stories where people have come on to a Zoom call and they are not ready for even for interviews with you guys with companies. They're just not ready. And I think it comes a point where people have gotten so comfortable with the whole Zoom thing that they think they can just like rock up to an interview in just like a vest or something like that.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, we obviously interview candidates every day. But if you think about it with like hiring managers, hopefully they're not hiring all the time. They might just be hiring every like 18 months, 2 years. So when they're going through this process, managers, they're really wanting to be impressed. They want to meet someone and go, oh gosh, they've spent the time to come on here looking professional. They're already with the answers ready to go. They know what our company's about. Okay, I'm going to show them the respect as well and give them the time, and it will go a lot more smoothly for people. I've had candidates interview on beds before. Find that really unprofessional.
Okay.
I've had candidates interview in a foyer with people walking past them. In cars are really common. That's like a bit of a great, I think
The car's a bit of a grey area because sometimes
Yeah.
obviously we are interviewing people when they are in their lunch breaks
Yeah.
and things like that. I think if you can be understanding in terms of the circumstances they're in, that one's a bit of a grey area.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're going for a final stage interview, I wouldn't recommend sitting in
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
car.
If, say, for example, that was the case and it was like, Jane, I'm in work that day, I can't get a time off, it's the end of the month, like we're really under the pump, the only space that I've got is in the car, just tell your recruiter about
Yeah.
that, so
Yeah,
then they can
be prepared.
just prep the manager and just saying, I'm just letting you know they're really keen for it, but it will be in the car that
Yeah.
the interview. And some managers are fine with that, they're like, Jane, we get it, you know,
Yeah,
it's
for
fine.
sure, for sure.
But it's more of a shock when you come on and someone's like balancing the phone on the steering wheel and it just seems a bit
And
unprofessional.
I also think it's important to state, like you said, sometimes people can't help that they're going to have to do an
Yeah,
interview in a car. But I think if they know that that's going to be the case, I think it's so important to prepare yourself. So
Yeah.
make sure you've figured out how you're going to set your phone up so it's not looking at you from your
Yeah.
chin. It's like in front of you. Make sure you park your car somewhere where there's not going to be much foot traffic, there's not going to be
Yeah.
actual car traffic or people pressing the horns, people walking past. So I think it's all about adapting to the circumstances that you've been given,
Yeah.
but make sure you're preparing for that. If you know, especially if you know your interview's in a week and
Yeah.
you know you're going to do it in
Yeah.
the car, you have a full week to prepare
Get
yourself.
sorted. Yeah.
Go into your car a couple of days before, bring books and bring things that you can maybe prop up a tripod of
Yeah.
some sort so that you know that, okay, at least once I do this, it's going to be a good angle so that
Yeah.
the conversation can go well and it doesn't look very awkward and rushed.
I think the
Yeah.
other thing is to make sure you've got eye contact. Because with virtual, it's very easy to look at what's happening around
you, yeah.
You know, if you've snuck into a room in the office to do it, watch who's coming past. It's very important to still keep that eye contact because it shows engagement as well. It shows that you're listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, sorry, going ahead.
No, I was just going to say with the whole eye contact and the right level, not holding a phone. If you do have to use your phone for an
Yeah.
interview, like prop it up against your laptop or books as you recommended, have it at the right eye level, have a blank wall behind you or something quite minimal so all the attention's on you. In terms of what to wear, it still is a professional interview.
sure.
How would you dress if you were going into the office to meet with them? Replicate that working from home. And especially going into the office now, that is becoming now going back to maybe normal days of going back in the office for interviews. So, you know, it's a corporate environment that you're going into. So put your best foot forward. First impressions last.
100%. And what about, I think one of the key things I would say for people when they're interviewing is to ask the question at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because when interviewers ask that, do you have a question for us? It's basically them telling you, ask us a question. It's
Yeah.
not. It's like compulsory.
And the most common response is, I think we've covered everything.
Never say that. You
Like,
haven't.
No.
Do you have any questions that you could recommend people should or can ask at the end of an interview?
My go-to question is always, what do you enjoy about working here? Like,
Yeah.
what is it? Why do you work here? What is it that makes you want to come to work every day?
Yeah.
Because then you kind of get a bit of more of an insight. They're going to be your manager. They're going to be above you. Why they want to come here every day? What's making them be your manager every day? And also in terms in company culture as well. They might say, oh, you know, they're super family friendly here. They're really flexible around, you know, if you've got to go pick up your kid from daycare because they're not well, you can work from home the rest of the day.
Yes.
Things like that. It's those sorts of answers that you
Yeah.
want to be hearing.
What about you?
Questions to ask at the end of an interview, I would be asking, what does my day look like? If you're coming away from that interview not really knowing what job you're walking into or what your first week will look like,
Yeah.
or when you're really embedded into the role, what you will be doing, you've not asked enough questions. So definitely, can you describe a day of a life in a customer service rep
Yes,
with
true.
this company? You can...
Just go from if they can describe a day in the life of a customer rep. Go from there.
Yeah, I'd ask them if they can describe in the life of a customer service representative, and that'd give you really good insight into the role. I'd be asking them, what would be my biggest challenge, or what do you think my biggest challenge
That's
will
a
be?
good one.
They normally bring in somebody from the team to interview you at some point.
Yeah.
More from like, will this person get on with this person? And
Yeah.
like, is this a good, will this be a good person for the team? Get their opinion and buy-in. Ask them people who you're meeting with, like, how did you find it when you first started? What advice would you give to the next person coming into the team? Any type of questions like that. Questions you would not ask at the end of an interview would be, we tend to say, don't ask about salary. That's what we are here for as a recruiter. We're here to, you know, represent you. And sometimes as well, candidates will go in and then they'll get asked a question from the line manager, and sometimes they think they're going to get a better answer from them, and the times when they've said, Jane, they asked for like an extra 10k more than what we, you know, presented them for, and I'm like, they've never mentioned that figure to me. That, you know, we've had conversations with them now over 2-3 weeks, or we've actually worked with this candidate for the past 5 years. You know, I don't know why they said that, but we can have them conversations direct with them, and normally we get back to the real. And when we ask them, why did you say that? They're like, oh, well, I you know, I'm on this at the moment, and you know, 10 to 15k would be the ideal amount increase. And it's like, well, it's not going to go up that much, but this is what the job's advertised for, and we can coach them through it. But I normally say, don't talk about salary. I normally say, don't ask when my breaks are, how many holidays do I get, or
I feel like because all of that, I think because like all of that stuff is all going to be there on paper anyway. You're going to find that out if you get offered the role.
I think as well, making sure that you've got your reason for leaving your current role clear.
Okay.
Because we are obviously communicating to our client why you're looking to move and why you're wanting that particular role. If you then come in with a completely different answer
story,
or multiple answers, it doesn't look good. They question it. They go, oh, you know, what excuse will they give if they ever leave us? You know, those sorts of things. Making sure that you don't talk negatively about your current workplace is another really big one. Don't be seen as complaining or anything like that as well, because that's just going to look negative on you.
And I think it is just having a real genuine reason of why you are looking to leave your current role. Like, it's life. Everyone goes through cycles. They want to get a new job. They may want more money for, you know, personal reasons. They may want to learn new things and learn new skills. Like, that is 100% healthy. But when you're being asked why you're leaving your current job from that employer, then they're just wanting to hear a genuine answer.
100%.
And when they get quite waffly answers, it sometimes leaves more question marks, and they're like, Jane, I just wasn't sure. Like, I just couldn't get to the bottom of why they wanted to leave that job after 8 years or after 3 years or whatever it may be. So just be clear, concise. I want to move on to a new job. I've mastered everything in that role. I've got really good relationships, but what's next for me? I'm happy in customer service. Like, and that's another thing. They're like, but they're coming for like job. You know, why do they want that? And it's like, sometimes it's just a change of scenery that they're after. It could be as like simple as that. But normally there are, I'd say, on average, 2 to 3 reasons why someone would want to leave a job. So that normally makes that decision.
I think for me, I think a good one to ask is, how is, I guess, success measured within my first 3 months in the role? I think that's a good one, because then it gives you an understanding of the expectation when you go in. And again, from every company, success is going to be measured very, very differently. So I think getting an idea of what you're, as you said earlier, getting yourself into in a day to day is good. And I also think asking a question that kind of, like you said, getting to learn more so about your hiring manager or a potential colleague. So something like, oh, I see you've been in the role for 8 years. Because sometimes if people know who they're going to get interviewed by, they should do a quick LinkedIn search to find out who they are. So if you find out, say, if your hiring manager of the company's been there for 8 years, ask them about that. You've been 8 years, that's a long time. What was your role when you first started, and how long were you in that before you got promoted, and now you're a hiring manager? What has that process been like? So I think trying to learn a little bit more about who you'll be working with in the interview is also a pretty good question to ask. But there's so many questions you can ask at the end of an interview. Just literally just Google good questions to ask at the end of an interview.
And that's part of our interview prep, isn't it? We'll give example questions to our candidates to ask. But then, you know, use your recruiter, even if it's not me and Kate, Though it should be. Like, use your recruiter to ask them, I've got these interview questions prepared. Like, do you think these are good questions? Or I'm really, culture's so important to me now. Do you have any suggestion questions of how I can kind of gauge what the culture is like in the business? And me and Kate can help with them questions.
Yeah, because I find, you can ask someone what the culture is like, but
and also,
I feel like
what does culture mean?
What does culture even mean? Culture means different to every single company. So I think, like you said, you need, probably with the culture thing, there needs to be more of a specific question. Like you kind of talked about, you can leave work early if your child's sick. That's culture. That's allowing you the flexibility to leave in the middle of the day at the drop of a pen. Them allowing you to, I think, work anywhere in the office you want. You don't need to be stuck at a desk.
Yeah.
I think those kind of things are kind of what give you a better understanding of what the culture is. Because when you say, what's the culture like? Oh, it's fun, it's great, everyone gets on. But that doesn't really tell you anything. Because you'd like to think that it was fun and everyone gets on in every company. You know what I mean? So that shouldn't be a standard answer. So being specific with the kind of questions if you're trying to learn about the culture.
Yeah.
We are almost done.
Oh.
You'd be happy to know, or not happy to know. Keep this going all day. What does 2023 look like for, I guess, the customer service industry? What do you foresee happening? Any changes in terms of, I guess, we touched on salaries, but do you think that's going to plateau? But is there anything in particular that you'd like to kind of touch on that you think is going to be a bit different in 2023 compared to 2022 in the customer service industry?
Yeah, I think for me, my prediction is we are starting to see a lot more companies now have recruitment freezes happening. Seen just a few cuts before Christmas as well with quite large medical device companies. So I do believe that we'll start to see maybe a bit more of a slowdown with permanent customer service roles and an increase of contracting customer service roles. With the borders now open and work and holiday visas coming through, I'm really hoping that they can help us with that demand when it does happen, because we've had awesome successes with some great, especially from Ireland, they'll come over with science degrees and experience, and we can help them get them jobs within customer service while they're travelling around. So that's my prediction for 2023.
And what about you, Kate?
I think from what I'm sort of seeing is definitely still that push for culture as well. That seems to be the predominant thing over salary. But I'm also seeing that people, they want to change in terms of not just the role, they want changes in everything. And it can be the simple change of it's 10 kilometres closer to my home. So that all those sorts of things are really coming in that are definite changes that we're seeing. And I think with the contracting thing as well, I think it's making sure people understand it's not necessarily a risk to take on a contract over a permanent position. You can prove yourself under a contract position and they might offer you a permanent position. The amount of skills that you can gain from just doing those sorts of contract roles, because if you're not happy where you are now, you're better off taking a contract position where it could be the best thing you've ever done. You've learned all these skills. In the meantime of trying to find that next definite role sort of thing as well. So I think we're going to see a shift in people's mindsets around that.
Amazing. And you touched on the 10K closer to home kind of thing. It's interesting because sometimes I overhear people's conversations in the office, and I find that a lot of the times that's the conversation that's has, okay, where do you live? They're like, oh, I live in the Northern Beaches, or I live in Manly, whatever. And then maybe if it's the warehouse is somewhere out west or whatever. And then that seems to be a deciding factor, that's going to be 2 hours each way, whether that's public transport or driving. For me, not willing to spend that much time traveling back and forth 5 days a week. Which I never really thought of before. Whenever everyone was working in the office 5 days a week, you never really thought about the amount of time that you spend going back and forth up until now, when you have the time at home to work. It's okay, I'd rather get a role that's either a lot closer or gives me the flexibility to maybe start earlier so I can skip the traffic and get back home. So I guess that's, again, like you said, something that people are going to be looking forward to in 2023. I think that's us.
I think that's it, isn't
it?
Yeah.
I think we covered everything. Do you have any career advice for someone who wants to get into customer service?
contact me and Kate.
Contact us at HPG. That's it.
Dot
Mic
com.
drop.
No, if you're a science graduate and you're wanting a career within that medical device or pharmaceutical space, gaining any experience working within an office environment will really set you apart to when you graduate with other people that graduate. So definitely going for a role that you've got experience in that industry as
So you're
well.
saying university students
Yeah.
are able to actually get roles before they even graduate?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, they're really good candidates to work with. Normally quite dedicated. They want to make a good impression.
And are they working? So how would a company offer a role to someone who's in uni? Because obviously, depending on their degree, they may be working, I don't know, 20 to 30 hours. Like how does that work in terms of?
It is
Because I know
more
with
so for
with
more,
Kate
like,
and the
remote.
optics and stuff,
Yeah.
you are able to get university students roles.
It depends on what the company's looking for as well.
Yeah.
They may be happy to bring on 2 students to replace 1 full-timer, but they bring
Okay.
on 2 junior staff
Yeah.
that might stay on because their degree goes for 5 years. So they
Okay.
might be there longer term because they're wanting the experience and they're wanting that exposure. So that's
But yeah, normally it is like candidates or undergrads that are in uni part-time and maybe doing that university studies remotely, so they can actually work full-time hours, and they'll need time off for things like exams or whatnot. But normally companies, you'll have like maybe holidays available to use for that, or normally there's a bit of like understanding from the manager. But yeah, we normally say to university students, like, get your foot in the door for sure.
Okay.
Like, that'll really help you. And if somebody's got anything from like FMCG background and want to move into pharma or med device space, they're really a great candidate for us to work with. And even as well, like logistics as well, if you've got a logistics background, would love to hear from you as well.
Perfect. And then for you, do you have any career advice for someone?
I would say that just because you've necessarily studied something or you started working in what you studied and you don't like it doesn't necessarily mean that's the end of the road. We've placed nurses, vet nurses. If you've gone into that industry and it's too much for you now, your work-life balance has changed, or your personal circumstances have changed, and the customer service environment would sort of suit you better. We'd love to hear from you, because there are those companies out there. You've been exposed to their products. You do know what they're all about. And I guess as well, for people that have worked in clinics, on that technical side, you've actually been dealing with the patients. For example, if you've been helping them sort of set up maybe their dialysis treatment or anything where you've been exposed to that, those are sort of candidates we want to hear from for those technical roles as well.
And also as well, like, customer service isn't just a stepping stone. Like, customer service is a career choice. So I think sometimes people have that opinion to be like, oh, I don't want to do customer service, like that's not the right career for me. You can actually do amazing things within customer service and have a really successful career within customer service too. So yeah, it's not just a stepping stone.
No, I mean, I did customer service and now I'm in recruitment.
There you go.
There you go. That's amazing. Thank you very much, Kate and Jane.
Thank you.
That was very insightful. I'm sure everyone listening is going to be blown away by the information they've been given. Like we said at the start, the customer service representative role within healthcare is such an integral part of it.
Yeah.
They make such a massive difference, and the skills and the characteristics you need for a customer rep is crazy, because they have such an impact.
Yeah.
And it's great that you two are so much involved with it. These two ladies are amazing at what they do. We are so particular about the people that we put forward for our roles.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like we said, patients are the end goal, and the patients are what we're doing it for. So you can't just put anyone in any role just because. You have to be so particular. The reference checks have to check out. Everything has to align perfectly with what our clients needs and what our candidate needs, so that when we do place them, they're going to do the best job they can.
Yeah.
But again, thank you very much for sitting down with me, and look forward to chatting again soon.
Me too. Thanks.